Welcome to PlotLines, where we'll use our over 30 years of experience in real estate communications to uncover the real stories behind real estate. I'm Heather Crowell.
And I'm Britni Acriveau. Dive in with us as we invite guests to break down the ever-changing landscapes of real estate together.
Welcome back to PlotLines, everyone. Today, we're joined by Monaca Onstad, CEO and founder of OnPlace. Monaca, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you, Heather. Happy to be here.
Great. So why don't we start by telling us a little bit about yourself, your work at OnPlace, and your sort of journey into the space?
Absolutely. Well, first and foremost, I am a mother and a wife. That is my one big accomplishment, I think, in my life. I have two adorable children, a 15-year-old and a 4-year-old at home, and an amazing husband that makes the house work and the home work for us. He's a stay-at-home dad, so shout out to him.
Amazing.
But from a professional standpoint, I've been in the master plan community development industry for more than 20 years. Started my career back in many years ago with Standard Pacific Homes and out in California. And just really fell in love with creating place for people, right? We all need somewhere to live. And so I really fell in love with it and continued my progression into my career. It landed me in Florida with Lakewood Ranch, which is the best-selling master plan community in the country. That was in 2016. Wasn't the best-selling back then. But in 2016, my career brought me to Florida. Never thought I would live in Florida. Here I am. And so my career brought me to Florida and really started taking off at that point from, what are the possibilities around master plan communities to really impact people's lives. And so I was with Lakewood Ranch for about 6 years. And then I said, hey, you know what? I think that what we're doing at Lakewood Ranch, what I was doing there really could be of use to other developers and builders around the country.
Okay.
So I took the leap.
Yeah, you
created the company. That was almost 4 years ago. This coming February will be 4 years ago.
Congrats.
Took the lead, created the company to help developers understand what amenities to build based on who's going to live there, create lifestyle programs for them, put lifestyle directors on site. We do a little fractional marketing. We manage welcome centers for developers. And so do all of this, work. So we started about 3.5, almost 4 years ago now with me and one person. Today we have 80 employees around the country.
Congrats.
And we are in about 6 states. And I think we're working right now across about 50,000 lots that we're impacting for our developers.
Wow. So these are all residential communities, right?
Yes. Currently, we do work in some town centers, those type of things. And it's interesting you say that, Heather. I'm getting calls now from hospitals, for example, on how to create a place for their clinicians, right? So, because people want to attract people to their space, right? So how do we have, like, for example, a hospital? How do we make them more competitive in the marketplace for clinicians, right? What do they want, right? So it's interesting this placemaking idea, and we're a placemaking firm, right? So it's interesting how it carries way beyond the residential space because, we all want to feel comfortable and attracted to spaces we go to, regardless if we reside there or if we're shopping there or what have you. And those same principles we use of really defining who the end user is for the space and designing around that.
Okay. Very cool. Yeah, that's really interesting about the medical piece. Yeah. All right, Monaca. So as you know, our podcast is all about looking at headlines in the real estate space, dissecting them, getting your take on it. The good news is I feel like master plan communities are getting a little bit of love in the press right now. There was even a CNBC article this week just about why Americans love gated communities. We had a couple clients, call that one out for sure. You have Starwood continuing to bet big on master plan communities. So seems like they're getting a little bit of love and attention. Are you feeling that on your end? What is your take on how it's being portrayed in the media right now?
Yeah, absolutely. I think we define it in the industry of master plan communities. I don't think that the consumer, the buyer defines it
Yeah.
that way.
Yeah,
They
fair
define
point.
it as community, right?
Right.
And I think the most attractive thing that I feel about master plan communities is that, you know, we don't live like we used to, where you would grow up, you'd kind of stay in the same town, and you just
Yeah.
suck out your life, right? Today, you might have a job offer from New York or
Mhm.
California, and you need to move there.
Yeah.
And what a master plan community does for you is allow you, if it's done right, allows you to actually put down those roots, allows the
Yeah.
buyer to put down roots really quickly and like really get rooted to that community quickly, right? So now you can get your new best friend or what have you, right? In those spaces where your children are going to go to school. Now
Yeah.
you meet all the
Yeah.
neighbors. So it gives you that access really easily.
Uh-huh.
And I think that's something that master plan communities is, if we do them correctly, is able to do for the consumer,
Yeah.
which we don't really tout it that way,
Yeah.
but it's really something like, in the industry, we're all going to say master plan communities, like we're not talking to the consumer at that point,
Sure.
right?
Yeah.
But it really does, if we do it right, allow residents that are moving in there to instantly create community for themselves.
Yeah.
And, if you don't move into a master plan community, it could take you 4 or 5 years to get
Right.
rooted in that area, right?
Yeah.
So yes, so I
Makes
think that
sense.
that's one of the reasons why master plan communities are really taking off these days.
Well, and there's still such this narrative, right? The housing market is still so competitive.
Right.
People are being priced out. We're seeing a lot of these trends about sort of staying in place and people putting more value
Right.
into where they live currently. And to your point, in one of these communities, you can feel more rooted in
Yeah.
the community a lot quicker than you would, somewhere else. To you suggesting it could take 4 years to really sort of build that around you. So do you
It's
think
another incentive for that price,
yeah. Do you think it's accurate that as people are still sort of grappling with do I buy, do I rent, where do I stay where I'm at and renovate and remodel? Do you see there being more demand that
Yeah.
people are choosing to live in these types of communities?
Yeah, I will just, it's not scientific at all, but I'll use myself as an example, right?
Yeah.
So we here in Lakewood Ranch, we
Yeah.
live in a beautiful area, but it is a master plan community in a master plan community, and it was built 20
Okay.
years ago, 25 years ago, right? So it has the golf club in the middle, and and you got to be a member of the golf club and all
Yeah.
that. It's beautiful, it's gorgeous. We're a member of the club, love all of that. But I also have a
Uh-huh.
4-year-old and I don't have a park to go to. If I want to go walk to a park, I
Right.
can't, right? So like there's other things I wanted. And because I do what I do, one of my other clients was building another master plan community within Lakewood Ranch. And
Okay.
we helped design the amenities. And I'm like, oh my gosh, the lifestyle that's coming to this community, like I want it for my family. So
Yeah.
I sold my other house and I'm building a house with them. Right
Okay.
now, I left my 2.5% rate, right?
Yeah.
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 Because I was motivated to buy this other
Makes sense.
house,
yeah.
right? Because the lifestyle motivated me to buy. So is that going to happen in every case? Is that affordable for everyone to
Yeah.
do?
Right.
But because we saw such price appreciation,
Yeah.
increase from COVID days, and we
Yep.
could afford to do that,
Yeah.
right? So,
Yeah.
I do think that I'll tell you, when the market started slowing a bit, our phone calls went through the roof, right? We're working with builders around the country, Pulte,
Yeah.
Dreamfinders, Lennar. We work with Starwood. We work with, multiple developers around the country that they are trying to enhance their lifestyle game
Yeah.
because they know that lifestyle sells. So
Yep.
I
Right.
do think that can all be a motivator for us. But we still, that's not to say that we don't have a problem with affordability in our
Sure.
country.
Sure.
And,
Yep.
there's all
Yeah.
of those things that we have. But I think there's ways to also bring amenities and lifestyle to communities and not increase,
Right.
the HOA fees
To just be value
drastically.
add. Yeah.
There's smart ways to do these things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
That does make sense. So you mentioned that a lot of developers are looking to like increase their lifestyle game. What are you hearing? Like, what are the top requests or amenities? Like, in what ways are they doing that? Give us some examples, maybe.
Yeah. And, it's funny. And I think this is something that you guys probably do very well, but it's about communication, right? So what we
We like to think
find,
so.
We try.
what we find is, we all want to talk about the amenities and all of that. And it's like, well, at the beginning, like, what's the story of the community? Like, what are
Yeah.
we doing? Like, and so we always say you got to start with the communication and how we're setting up the community and that how we're communicating who we are to
Yeah.
the greater audience, right? Um, but once the community is built and we have residents coming in, that communication continues. And because if we can have all the amenities in the world, but if we don't communicate how we're
Yeah.
using them and activate them, it doesn't work. So it's
Yeah.
communication, building the right amenities for your buyer, right? Like if you're expecting to, have a 55 and plus crowd, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're probably not going to put in like 4 playgrounds. You might
Right,
put one
right,
in,
right,
but not
right.
4, right? And that's a very easy
Yeah.
example that everybody can see that, but there's all of these other little things that go underneath it. And
Yeah.
so we don't start with like the amenity, right? Like what the actual structure will be. We don't start with that. We actually start with who the buyer is going to be,
Right. Right.
right?
Yeah,
And then
that's a
figure out
basic
what their
marketing
pain
principle,
points
right?
are. And one example of that is I worked on a community in Virginia, right outside DC, called Willows Ford. It was one of the first agri-hoods in the country. And what we learned there was that, people were stretching to get into those homes, right? So they were, 800 plus, 800,000 plus. Some were well over a million. And people were stretching their dollar
Mhm.
to get into the home. Well,
Mhm.
summer rolls around and you need to put your children in summer camp. Well, summer camps in DC at that time were anywhere from $400 to $600 a week. That's a big pain point,
Yeah.
right?
Oh, yeah.
So
Yeah.
how do we solve that pain point? We started a summer camp at that
Oh,
community
yeah, I love that.
and half price, right? So now you can put your child in summer camp for a week for $200, and guess what? You could drop them off
Yeah.
at your community center on the way to work. So it's not always about the hard amenity. There's
Yeah.
also some software like programming things that we'd want to put in.
Yeah. Yeah. It sounds like really creating community and like a brand for the community.
Yeah. I love that example. I think it kind of leads into the next question. You've already given us a few examples, but what are some other ways that you work with your clients to foster that sense of community within their developments?
Yeah, I think so when we start envisioning what the amenities would be and how we would plan that community, we really want to understand passive and active use. So we
Uh-huh.
don't want to always have to activate things, right? So we want to have some passive use. So we like to say there's some surprise and delight moments, right? How can I get a 5-year-old interested in going on a walk every single day, right?
Right. Right.
So what can I put on those trails that they could explore every day? Is it
Hmm.
like a little magnifying, like where you can
Yeah.
magnify, a little
Yeah.
magnifier so you can put a leaf under it or a bug or something like that. So we really go down to like that nitty gritty of like,
Yeah.
what's going to get people out their doors and into the parks, the trails, that type of thing. And then we also talk to our clients about when we do say end user, it doesn't mean like the mom and dad or the person who's buying the home.
Yeah.
It could also be the child like that,
Yeah,
right? That child's
sure.
the end user of that trail for us, one of the end users. A park. I never say that a park is the end user of that park is not the child. It's the care provider who's taking the
Yeah.
child. I mean, I don't know if you guys have children or if you have around children, but
Yeah.
sometimes going to parks and having your children play is not the most pleasant thing, right?
Right.
You're in the sun, you're like, it's awful, right? So like, why
Yeah.
can't we make the space comfortable for the parent as the child is playing, right?
Right.
Yeah.
And so really, I'll have clients come to me and like, what's the new hottest amenity? We want it. Like we want it. So I'm like,
Yeah.
what we're going to do is do the basics really well,
Uh-huh.
right? We're going to figure out that really well. And then we're going to go one step above what your competitors are doing,
Yeah.
right?
Okay. Yeah.
So that's my view on amenities. I mean, there's a lot of
Okay.
amenity wars going on out there, especially
Yeah.
in Texas. I mean, we're involved with Centerra that has a lagoon.
Okay.
We've got lazy rivers going in almost every
Wow.
Texas
Yeah.
community we have. Or if it's not a lazy river, it's a huge water slide.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
Okay.
like It's big
It's
up there.
intense.
In Florida, you don't do as much. In other parts of the country, you're not doing as much of that. But amenity wars, it's something that's happening right now.
Okay.
Mhm.
Okay. So how has all of this community building, whether it's an amenity or an activation, how has that changed since the pandemic with with people sort of spending more time at home, as a lifestyle change now with working from home and that sort of thing? Um, has it
Yeah.
changed how you think about the communities?
Yeah, I think it's that's a great question. And during the pandemic, I was at Lakewood Ranch. So I
Okay.
was head of community relations at Lakewood Ranch there here in Florida. And we had a great active lifestyle prior to the pandemic.
Mhm.
I think, but it was an add-on, right? It wasn't a necessity. It was
Okay.
more of an enjoyable something that the residents would,
Okay.
attend. I think after the pandemic, that the importance to our mental and physical health on connections was so evident because when you're locked in with no one
Yeah.
else, you realize how much you miss people. And I think it took the from a lifestyle and programming element of a master plan community, it took it from a nice to have to a must have
Sure.
Okay.
because we want to connect with people. I mean, there's all these studies out there that will tell you that being socially isolated can really help you hurt your mental
Yeah. 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 Of
health.
course.
And so it just became more evident that we need connection. And then going back to what I said earlier about how master plan communities make it easier to connect, it was just a true, like, it was a great marriage, right?
Yeah.
Like, how do we keep expanding this?
Yeah.
And so, yes, it certainly changed. The pandemic certainly changed it
Okay.
because it made it more important that we do
Right.
it, vital to us instead of just we're going to go out and have fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That makes sense. Okay.
So I know we talked a lot about residential. You mentioned in the beginning some work with town centers. How does the way you approach sort of more of a mixed
Yeah.
use or commercial property differ, if at all?
Yeah, I think it does differ. It differs because we have a lot of end users in that situation, right?
Sure.
So we have a lot of different shoppers. You're going to have a lot of different merchants that sell a lot of different things that
Yeah.
they each attract someone else. You've got your merchants as an end user as well. There's phases of how you're going to attract different people. In the beginning, you need to attract the people who are going to lease the buildings. In the
Yep.
middle, you got to attract at the end there, you got to attract the people who are going to come shop those buildings. So
Yep. Yep.
so I think it's a little more complicated because you have way more end users, but you
Makes
still
sense.
need the spaces. So we have a town center here in Lakewood Ranch that I worked on called Waterside Place, and that was one of them while I was at Lakewood Ranch. It was my 5-year project. One of the things we did there was built a farmers market. Now, everybody loves farmers markets. It's an easy way to get the consumer to buy into something without saying, hey, we're selling something to you, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Because it's creating a community just almost instantly. So
Yeah.
what we did there for that town center is we knew that we wanted the town center to start, and I believe it was 2021, we were going to launch the town center. So 4 years before that, we actually built the farmers market in Lakewood Ranch and started building it. And when the town center was ready, we moved that farmers market right over to
Okay.
and now it's voted the number one most loved farmers market in all of Florida. Like
Oh,
no
nice.
one thought, like if you're near Sarasota, the Sarasota market gets, or the St. Pete market even more, like they're all within driving distance for us. And those two get a lot, or they used to get a lot of credit of being such amazing markets.
Okay.
And now Lakewood Ranch market has surpass those. And
Okay.
one of the things we did there is like, how do we make it a destination? So, you have to think about multiple things when you're putting a town center together,
Mhm.
but not only, like I said, the merchants and the people who are going to lease the space from you, but also how do you make that a destination? So one of the goals we had at that town center was like, we know we want to pull people from St. Pete. People thought I was crazy. Like the team thought I was crazy. They're like, why would anyone ever leave St. Pete to come to Lakewood Ranch,
Right.
right?
Right.
People leave St. Pete to come to Lakewood Ranch because one of the things we did is we also put in a social cornhole league. It's the largest
Oh.
social cornhole league in the country with like, I think they have like 400 players or something like
Oh
that
my
now. It's
God.
Oh,
crazy, right?
wow. That's
And
awesome.
so, on a random, Wednesday nights through, not right now because it's way too hot, but a random Wednesday night on, weekly, they will have this huge cornhole league and they have food trucks and all of
Oh,
that.
fun.
Oh,
So,
wow. Yeah.
so we found the element that we found the partner to do it, the element, all of that. So, it's one of those things where sometimes our developer clients, whether they're building a town center or a master plan community, they feel like they have to do it all. And it's really
Yeah.
about reaching out into the community and understanding what partnerships might be available to
Yeah.
help serve the needs for that
Hmm.
particular
Yeah, that's
property.
smart.
That's great. That's great. So, tacking on to that just briefly, when you're in a commercial development, are there any like retail necessities, right? You hear a lot about grocery stores and that type of thing. Farmers market is a great example. Maybe that is a necessity, but is there any like what would you say is like the tenant that has to be there to make the town center a real town center?
Yeah, I think it's those merchants or retailers who bring the traffic every day, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
coffee is a big one, right?
Convenience. Yeah.
Coffee's a big one. Breakfast places typically do really, really well.
Okay.
Those restaurants that have like the town center I was talking about here in Lakewood Ranch has beautiful water views.
Oh, nice.
Those type of things where people, but
Yeah.
in addition to the retailers that they need space for people to come and hang out,
Yeah. Green
right? So,
space, open
like, I
common
wanna grab my
space.
coffee, and maybe I don't wanna stay right in the coffee shop. I want a common area space within the town center to be
Yeah.
able to hang out, right?
Yeah.
To
That
meet my
makes sense.
friends, that type of thing. So, it becomes really and if you do it right, and if there's most master plan communities today, the large ones anyway, have some type of town center or commercial space attached to it. And if you do that right, it can become your walkable, because
Yeah.
walkable spaces, retail is one of the number one things
Sure.
that every consumer wants across all
Right.
demographics when they're
Yeah.
purchasing a
Yeah.
home. So, if you do it right, you could have that coffee shop within walking distance, that type of thing.
Yeah.
Some of the other things that are really important to have close to, depending on what your demographic is, but here in Florida and Texas as well, that daycares are
Yeah.
huge, right? I mean, there's
Mhm.
wait lists
Mhm.
like crazy.
Yeah.
Um, and hopefully we have more. Maybe it'll drive the price down a little bit because that's if you have children in daycare, it's really expensive.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
But one of those things is like making sure there's daycare options nearby,
Yeah.
and I see a
For
lot
sure.
of like Starwood, for example, is one of my developer clients. Always selling like a parcel from a commercial parcel.
Yeah. That
Typically,
makes total
they've
sense.
got a daycare
Smart. Yeah.
involved
Yeah.
in it.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I know you mentioned the amenity wars. I feel like we have to ask, right?
Yes.
Just given your experience and what you see. I mean, obviously, a lot of it is market dependent, but if you could, are there any amenities that you do see that are starting to sort of go out of style? What's more in vogue? What's here to stay? What are your
Um,
predictions for the rest of the year going into 26?
yeah, I know. If we're in Texas, you're still going to see your lazy rivers, your
Okay.
lagoons. I think
That's so
lazy
hard for us
rivers.
to imagine here on the East Coast.
Texas goes big, right?
Right. It's big. It's big. And depending on your municipality, you may have to have like 20 lifeguards to open a
Oh my
lazy river. Like
gosh.
it's crazy, 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 crazy.
Wow.
Yeah.
And I think we are seeing those lazy rivers a little more in Florida. I mean, typically those have
Okay.
been, more from, if you go to a resort, they would have a
I was
lazy
gonna say it's
river.
like resort style.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that is probably one of the trends I'm seeing in both Florida and Texas, and is that you're getting a resort at home.
Okay.
Really,
All right.
Okay.
that's one of the things. I
I'll
think
take
one of the
it.
things.
Yeah.
I mean, like, why not, right?
Yeah, sure.
I'll take it. One of the things that I think that's kind of going out of style a little bit, and I try not to put so much into. Sometimes it's requested, but I don't know that it ever really hit on that well as outdoor fitness. I
Okay.
think that
Okay.
it can work in limited situations, but I just don't think. Well, what we found, I mean, we survey all of our clients,
Mhm.
all of our buyers
Mhm.
across all of our communities. And outdoor fitness is just not something that, nobody wants to sweat outside. Most people don't. And it's one of those things. We do put it in occasionally when it calls for it. We have a community here in Lakewood Ranch where we put it in because we're going to program around it, where we have a trainer to come out, and it is more of balancing and those type of things. But I do see that outdoor fitness has kind of gone, like it was kind of the sexy thing there for a while. It's not very expensive to put in. But it's kind of gone by the wayside, and we've gone more to expensive things like lazy rivers. But I do think there's this relaxing kind of feel, like my home is my sanctuary, and my home is not just the four walls of my house, right? It's extending beyond that into my community center or, what amenity we have there, and how do we make that more relaxing? And then I do also think that from an amenity standpoint, there's this, like I alluded to earlier on the Willisford example with summer camp, there's wanting your community to do more for you, right? Like solving those pain points. And, so there's a lot of flexible space that's needed. And an example of that would be something that's super hot right now, is that as much as we want to gather, we typically don't like to gather in our homes, because that means we got to clean them and get prepared and do all of that.
Party
So
spaces.
Community centers, the amenity centers, like putting in a space with a catering kitchen. And this is not rocket science, right? You just got to understand the reason behind it. For those birthday parties, for those graduation celebrations, and that, and that does something also pretty amazing for a developer when they're still selling, or a builder when they're still selling, because now you're driving traffic from outside the community that people are just coming to look. They're coming to celebrate, but they're like, oh wow, this is an amazing community.
Fair.
But I do think that is something, like, while we want to gather, it's not necessarily in, you don't want to have 24-year-olds running through your house. So you want to have this amenity center to do that with. So it can serve a purpose, if you will.
That's great. That's great. And it's amazing, because you have to sort of think about that, the long-term view when you're building these developments. Okay, you've given us a lot of great sound bites. So this is your opportunity. It's our favorite part of the show, where you get to write the ideal headline for the master plan community space.
Yes. So I thought about this a little bit. And, I think that what we're finding today, so I would say master plan communities, synergy between lifestyle and marketing fuels sales.
Okay.
What I mean by that is that if you do this right from a lifestyle perspective, amenities, all of that, market it and communicate it correctly, you can push your pace and price. My lifestyle directors that I have on site are selling homes for our builders, right? And
excellent.
While we're there to connect people, we're there really to help. The builders are paying our fees, right? We're there to help them sell homes. And Pulte just contacted me last week and said, hey, your lifestyle director just sold a home for us. Because this is what they did, right?
That's great. Yeah.
There is big opportunity. We've said lifestyle sales for so many years. We're really making sure that we can turn that investment that the builders into actual sales. So, pushing pace and price, like sometimes we think that it's more about, putting lots on the ground fast, or which builders we have in the, if we do this right and we really create a lifestyle community, then we can fuel our sales.
Yeah. That's amazing.
Smart. Yeah. All right. Well, Monaca, you gave us a lot to think about. We really appreciate your time today.
Awesome. Well, thank you, ladies, so much. This was great. I enjoyed it.
Yeah, us too.
Likewise. It's great to have you.
This podcast is a production of Gregory FCA. If you enjoyed our discussion, please subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts